Hello students, hope you all are well and enjoying your days, right? Yes. Now it's time to learn a new topic, friction, part 1. This chapter is chapter number 12 in NCERT book Science, class 8 and CBSE based syllabus. Students, this time I am ready with so many questions for you. Let us see this figure. There is a ball which is moving and finally it stops. So when you push a ball, it starts moving, but after some time, it gradually slows down and finally stops. So why does this happen? Have you ever thought of? Now, ready for next question. You can see a boy. Oh no, he fell down due to the banana peel. So why do we slip when we step on a banana peel? Again, it's a question for you. Now you can see a swimmer. He needs to apply force continuously to move forward. He needs to work hard. Many of you must be knowing swimming and you know how much you need to work hard to swim properly in water. Now you see this car. The car is moving and when brakes are applied, it stops. Again, if you apply force, it will start moving. So a car or a vehicle slows down when brakes are applied. Why does it happen? You must have observed that a driver of a car or a truck slowing down a vehicle at a traffic signal or whenever there is busy traffic, he needs to slow down. You too slow down your bicycle whenever needed by applying brakes. So have you ever thought why a vehicle slows down when brakes are applied? So let us find out the answer. So the answer is friction. Yes, this is an invisible force which is acting all the time. Right? And if you remember in chapter number 11, you have learnt about two types of forces, contact forces and non-contact forces. So friction is which kind of force? Can you recall? Yes, it is a kind of contact force. And what is friction? Friction is the force that opposes the motion when the two surfaces are in contact or they move or tend to move with respect to each other. It is an opposing force as it always acts opposite to the direction of motion. So you need to highlight two very important lines here that friction is a force. Yes, it is a kind of force. And what kind of force? It is a contact force. Another thing, it comes into action when two surfaces are in contact. You already know that it is a kind of contact force. So the physical contact between two surfaces is very important. Third thing to note is that it is an opposing force. Okay, please remember it is an opposing force. You want to move forward, but this will act in backward direction. That is why we can say that it always acts opposite to the direction of motion. Right? So this is again very important to note that friction force or force of friction, it acts opposite to the direction of motion. So this way you have learnt about this force friction once again, and this time you are going to learn this particular term in details. You are going to explore so many facts about friction. Let us see this figure. A man is pushing a block and you can see two colored arrow marks. The red color is for the applied force. FA is the applied force and FF is the force of friction. So it is such kind of force which is always acting in the opposite direction of the applied force. If force is applied in forward direction, friction force will work in backward direction. So this figure is a very clear depiction of the force friction. You can see one more figure. This is pushing force, right? And The direction of motion is in the direction of the applied force, whereas force of friction, it is acting backwards. This red mark is showing you force of friction. Students, you cannot see this force. It is invisible, but you can feel its existence through so many activities. And in our daily life, there are so many advantages and disadvantages of friction, but that you will be learning in the next video. So, let us explore more about friction. We will be doing activity number 1. First of all, gently push a book on a table. You can see in the figure there is a table, and figure number A, there is a book. You need to push it gently. You will observe that it stops after moving some distance. Now, come to figure number B. This time you will repeat this activity by pushing the book from the opposite direction. First, if you are pushing forward, now this time you have to push it in just opposite direction. Now, a question for you. Can we see what happens after this, and can we say that a force must be acting on the book which is opposing its motion? Means when you push it first, you will find the book moves and it stops. Second time again you push, you will find the book stops this time also. So can you say that a force must be acting on the book opposing its motion? So, your conclusion is friction opposes relative motion between the surfaces of the book and the table. This is the conclusion, that friction always opposes relative motion between the two surfaces in contact, and here the two surfaces were book and the table. Now, again there is a question for you. Does it depend on the smoothness of the surfaces? Let us find out. So to find out this, we need to do another activity, activity number 2, and here is the figure. You can see there is a brick which is tied with a thread, and another end is fixed with a spring balance. Now you must be thinking, what is a spring balance? Spring balance is a device which is used to measure the amount of force of friction working, or you can say it is used to find out that what is the measure of the force of friction, or in simple words you can say spring balance is a device used for measuring the force acting on an object. It consists of a coiled spring which gets stretched when a force is applied to it. Stretching of the spring is measured by a pointer moving on the graduated scale. The reading on the scale gives the magnitude of the force. So here we are actually measuring the force of friction. So first of all, you will tie a string around the brick and pull the brick by a spring balance, apply some force. Now, after this, note down the reading on the spring balance when the brick just begins to move. Your observation is, you will find some change in reading of the spring balance that gives the measure of force of friction. You will find there is some change in the reading of the spring balance, and that reading is the force of friction. Now activity 2 continued. This time you will repeat this activity by wrapping a piece of jute bag around the brick. So there is a change. Earlier you have used only the brick. This time you will be wrapping a jute bag around the brick, and you will try to do the same activity once again. So what is your observation? This time greater reading is observed in the spring balance. So conclusion is, this activity shows that rough surfaces offer greater friction than smooth surfaces. So in case of jute bag, which offers a rough surface, there you found greater value of friction on the spring balance, whereas when you use simply a brick which was less rough, or you can say smoother, comparatively it was smoother than the jute bag surface, that in that case you have found the value of friction is less. So it means friction depends upon the nature of the surfaces in contact. If it is rough surface, greater is the friction. If it is smooth surface, smaller is the friction. Now activity number 3. See, you can see a cardboard box, and in the next figure you can see it is a wooden box, right? So step 1 is push an empty cardboard box along the floor. What do you observe? It is easy to push the box. Now step 2, push the wooden box along the floor. What do you observe? It is difficult to push the wooden box. Yes, it is very simple. You can see and you can make out easily through the figure that this cardboard box is lighter in weight or mass, whereas this wooden box is heavier or it is greater in weight or mass. So what is the conclusion of this activity? Friction increases with increase in mass of objects. When you used up a heavier object, friction increased. And when you used a smaller object or a lighter object like the cardboard box, friction was less. It was easy to move. Right? So it means that friction depends upon mass of the objects. Right? So let us sum up your conclusions of activity number 2 and activity number 3, and we find the factors affecting friction. So here comes the 2 factors which are affecting friction. Number 1 is nature of the surfaces in contact, and number 2 is mass of the object. Okay, so nature of the surfaces means whether the surface is a smooth or rough. Smooth surface offers less friction, rough surface offers more friction. And lighter object offers less friction, heavier object offers greater friction. Now, what's next? Remember, yes, there is very important point which you need to remember. Friction is independent of the area of contact. Please note it. Friction is independent of the area of contact. You can highlight this. It is independent. Okay, it is independent. It does not depend upon area of contact. Friction depends upon 2 factors: nature of the surfaces and mass of the object. It is independent of the nature of the area of contact between 2 surfaces. The level of interlocking decides the amount of friction between 2 surfaces. The level of interlocking is entirely dependent on the mass of the body. This is again important. The level of interlocking, it is entirely depending upon mass of the body. So, if more the mass, more the intensity of interlocking, thus more is the friction. That is why friction is, you can say that it is independent of area of contact. Please learn this well. Friction is independent of area of contact or contact area. Okay, so let us come to the next topic. What causes friction? Yes, you can see a figure here, and this figure is basically giving you a macroscopic view of a small point on a particular surface. So the force of friction, how it is caused? The force of friction is basically caused by the interlocking of the irregularities between the 2 surfaces in contact. When sufficient force is applied, the interlocks break and the body moves. So you can see there is a surface over which a wooden block is kept, and we have considered a small point here. You can see a black point, and we can see a macroscopic view of this particular point. Students, do you know that like the surfaces look very smooth or smoother, like the table surface, the surface of book, the ground floor, but actually there are many minute irregularities which you cannot see. You can see in this figure there are many peaks and depressions, and in fact they get interlocked with one another. Like when you join your two hands, your the fingers of the two palms, they get interlocked with one another, right? You can do this, you can try this. Such kind of interlocking is automatically happening when two surfaces are kept in contact with one another. So what causes friction? Friction is caused due to the interlocking of the irregularities between two surfaces. So let us mark this interlocking of the irregularities between the two surfaces in contact. This is very important to note. Okay. So, there are so many things to explore about friction. Is it advantageous or is it disadvantageous? In other words, you can say friction is an evil or it is a gift for us. That you will come to know in next video. Till then, please revise the concepts taught today, and it is always suggested that you read your books thoroughly and learn the notes, whatever is given by your teachers, and you please revise them continuously. Okay, thank you. Please like and share this video and subscribe my YouTube channel. Bye bye.